right, it looks like numbers are slowing down a tiny bit, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you everyone so much for joining us for today's webinar, Beyond the Basics, Explore the Power of NinjaOne. Um, my name is Pete Breton. I am the VP of Product Strategy at NinjaOne, and I am joined by Jeff Hunter, our most expert Ninja expert. Jeff, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff. I'm the field CTO here at Ninja, and if you've attended a webinar in the past, you have probably heard me ramble on about Ninja, and I look forward to doing so again here in just a few minutes.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to run through some of our biggest updates from the year so far. It's always good to take a step back from your day-to-day work and really get a full understanding of maybe some of the things that you've missed in our releases this year. We do have quite a few of them. We are going to spend as much time as possible in the platform today. I do have a couple slides to start with. It wouldn't be a webinar if there weren't at least a couple slides. We'll go through those and then we'll hand it off to Jeff to actually show you off all of the great new things that NinjaOne can do. Before we jump in, I do want to do some housekeeping items here. This webinar will be recorded. It will be made available to you within a few days after the webinar. Feel free to share it with your colleagues or anyone else who might want to review anything that's here. This is a live webinar, and we do thrive on engagement. So if you want to chat in chat with your peers, you'll learn just as much from them as you will from us. And if you do have any questions, we will prioritize the questions that are put in the Q&A section over the ones in chat, although we'll try to get those to those in chat as well. We have a lot to show off, so we do tend to have a fairly short Q&A at the end, maybe 10 minutes. So we may not get to everything, but we will try to follow up after the fact if there's any questions we don't get to. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I believe everyone on the call should be a NinjaOne customer already. So I'm not going to spend too much time explaining what we do. But again, many of our customers started working with Ninja, for example, when we only had one product, NinjaOne RMM. And so I think it's always good to take a step back and look at the full breadth of the platform and understand the full offering of what Ninja offers today. So with Ninja, we help you automate the hardest parts of IT, and we really do so in four kind of product areas. One is our endpoint and mobile device management product set. This allows you to manage your Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, iPad OS, etc. type devices and do things like endpoint provisioning, third-party patching, software deployment, monitoring, alerting, etc. Traditional RMM or endpoint management solution with the additional benefit of our mobile device management solution on top. We also have our own remote access solution, NinjaOne Remote, giving you both attended and unattended access. For those of you who need the ability to manage attended devices or unmanaged devices, you can do so via our Quick Connect product that's part of our remote access suite, giving you all the tools you need to provide hand-to-hand remote support to end users and on devices. Our backup and recovery suite includes both our physical device backup product, NinjaOne NinjaOne what is it called? NinjaOne Data Protection, NinjaOne Endpoint Backup, and our recent Dropsuite acquisition giving us SaaS backup for M365 and Google Workspace backup. And then finally, our service desk products. That includes PSA for our MSP customers and our sort of ticketing, knowledge management, warranty management, and IT asset management capabilities. All under our service desk umbrella. These four product areas give you hopefully everything you need to modernize IT operations and automate the hardest parts of IT. I'll stop there on the platform overview, but we will be touching on pretty much all of these products today as we go through the platform. So it's always good to get a sense of the platform at Ninja. Next, I've got 3 slides, just 3, where I'm going to go through some of the biggest updates we've released this year, and then we'll hand it off to Jeff. So most of our customers use our endpoint management product or our RMM, so we'll start there. We have released quite a few major updates for our RMM this year, and I want to walk through those very briefly. OS deployment is a big one. For those of you who are not using something like an autopilot to provision new devices, OS deployment gives you the ability to provision new devices using our OS deployment tool to make device setup even easier. It does allow you to then deploy the NinjaOne agent to those devices and create personalized new devices at scale for new employees. We rolled out our patch intelligence AI capability this year and the ability to automate patch approvals or rejections via patch AI. This is a core component of our autonomous patch management capabilities and allows you to balance that operational risk and security risk by using AI to ensure that you're not deploying patches that'll break your environment. We rolled out patch caching this fall, allowing you to deploy patches from a centralized patch cache, really helpful in low bandwidth environments or environments where maybe you're deploying a lot of patches over a network and you don't want to destroy your network. We are also enhancing our Linux management capabilities. We did roll out Linux CVSS scoring for our patching product. We've added long-term data retention to our devices so that you can see how devices are performing over time, and then added a file transfer automation as well, which has been an ask from our customers for a long time. On the remote access side, NinjaOne Remote, we have our background mode. This is probably the single biggest update we've made to remote access this year, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback for it. This allows you to provide remote access to a device without interacting with the end user session, so that you can provide remote access without interrupting end users. Or without, for example, seeing information that a technician shouldn't. We also added Linux support and HTTPS proxy support, which again are common customer asks. On NinjaOne Backup, in addition to adding Dropsuite to our portfolio, our own backup product, we rolled out a new backup engine this year, which our internal testing shows is about 50% more storage efficient than our old model. Now, we didn't do a lot of marketing around this because you want to point out you're 50% more efficient. People ask why you were 50% less efficient, but we do think it's a really big improvement to our ability to back up all workflows and provide that unified backup solution for all of your devices. We did also add the ability to back up your network attached storage devices. And we now have Dropsuite fully integrated into NinjaOne. The final integration, sort of the checkbox, yes, we have this fully integrated, is coming in 11, but the solution is currently integrated today for both our SaaS backup product and our email archiver product. Mobile device management, we released that last year, and we continue to add a ton to it every release. Big ones this year have been macOS MDM, so that you can support modern patching via MDM with NinjaOne. Apple has signaled very strongly that agent-based patching is not the way to go forward. So we did release macOS MDM primarily to support that patching use case, although you get full MDM capabilities on top of it as well. We also very recently added file vault management. As soon as we rolled out macOS MDM, that was a big call for, hey, why don't you do file vault management? So we did add that very recently. We've added Android remote control and Quick Connect for mobile devices. And again, Quick Connect is that ad hoc remote support to, in this case, support mobile devices. And I think my last slide. Yeah, my last slide before I hand it off to Jeff to actually show you the stuff in the platform is our IT asset management product has rolled out in early access. The first use case is unmanaged device tracking, the ability to add devices that are not managed via an NinjaOne agent to the NinjaOne platform to improve that single pane view of all of your devices. That was use case number one. Number two here is automated warranty tracking, the ability to pull in warranty information on all of your devices, as well as tag devices for better searchability. And then most recently, adding software lifecycle management. This will evolve into a more fully fleshed out IT asset management solution, but we have a lot of value in what we have in the product today, and I encourage you to check that one out. And then last, sort of a bucket for some other things that I didn't have anywhere to put, is sort of platform and other here. Our automated vulnerability scanner imports. When we originally launched our vulnerability scanner importing capability, it had to be done manually. It can now be done via API. So there's some initial setup, and then it's fully automated from there. So you can see all of your vulnerabilities matched up against NinjaOne devices and NinjaOne patches so that you can perform that fully autonomous patch management workflow. We have made substantial updates to our ServiceNow, Freshservice, ConnectWise Manage, and CrowdStrike integration. So we're investing a lot in our ecosystem partners and those integrations. Our PSA, NinjaOne PSA, is in early access, combining ticketing, documentation, billing, warranty management, and other modules so that you have a fully fleshed out PSA for small MSPs. And then we built out custom HTML templates for ticketing. And one that I personally love, although it's on here last for a reason, is custom field tabs. Our custom fields are incredibly powerful if you're investing the time in building them out. And building out custom field tabs makes them much more easy to organize and use in your daily workflows. These are just a couple of the major updates, not a couple. These are a lot of the major updates that we rolled out so far just this year. There are lots of smaller quality of life improvements that you'll see if you go back through our release notes. And I think from here, Jeff can walk you through some of these as well as just an overview of the platform and some of the great things that we are doing in NinjaOne today. So off to you, Jeff.
Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right, looks like you can see that right here. So right here, we've seen the main NinjaOne dashboard. Uh, I want to get into some of the things that we don't normally always talk about. We always focus on the core functionality of NinjaOne, but we want to talk about everything else that you might need in order to better streamline and just make your operation more efficient. I would say, from my experience, I think that starts with the ticketing system. We actually have a shirt at Ninja, one of our swag shirts, that says, if it wasn't a ticket, it didn't happen. And I think everybody else, every other organization probably has their own version of that particular slogan. Because that's how you make decisions, is based off of how many tickets came in and what type of tickets they were. We're reaching the end of 2025, and when you're planning for 2026, evaluating your tickets and your ticketing performance from the help desk, that's obviously going to be at the top of your mind. So to enable NinjaOne ticketing, we can go into the apps exchange right here. Obviously, I've already turned everything on, but this is going to be a screen that we return to throughout the demonstration because this is where you turn on some of the things that you might not be using today. Now, once we go ahead and turn that on, you will then get this ticketing and nav bar over on the left-hand side. You can see here that we've got different groupings of tickets. We call these boards, and it's just a way for you to group and filter tickets so you can see what is relevant for you in this particular moment. Obviously, I'm giving a demonstration, so I've created a ticketing board right here that has only the tickets that I've pre-set up for myself so we can walk through all the different functionality that we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to go ahead and start at the very bottom here. Our first ticket, that's what I was always taught. Always start with your oldest ticket first. And when we come into the ticket editor here, you can see that I have my status. This is a brand new ticket. Whenever I start to actively work on it, I like to go ahead and put it into an open status because I know that the onus is on me. I'm the technician. I need to actually take ownership of this ticket. So when I move it into an open status, that means the ball's in my hands. And then if I submit my response and I need something from the end user, they would go ahead and be in a waiting status because I am waiting on that end user to give me the information back. We have our different types up here. We have problems and incidents, which can be linked in a parent-child relationship. So that way you can update the problem ticket and all the child incidents associated with it will receive an update. Lets you update everybody in mass instead of having to go and update each ticket individually. But of course, you have a lot of other types in here as well if you need to go ahead and be a little bit more distinct. Right here, we see our forms, and this is how we would capture additional information right here. Whenever we select one of these, like a new user hardware request, you can see it adds in all these other fields down here at the bottom. These are all custom fields, so these device types, that's what I've put in here. The drop-down options here for whether this is a net new piece of hardware or whether this is a replacement piece of hardware, that again comes from me. And so the nice thing about this is that you can, of course, see this information from the boards if we were to customize the columns that we see here. However, this is also very useful because you can build automations based off of the information in those fields. So if you select one thing for a custom field that you've created, that can then impact your automations that are going to occur. Now let's go ahead and actually deal with the ticket that's been submitted here. Now we can see that this comes from Andy Carulli. He's at a Bill's Maple Leaf Diner, and we actually have his device linked right here. I can click into this to go directly to the device, but I also have the play button here so that I can take actions. I might need to run an automation. I might need to open up a remote terminal session like I am right here, and I can deal with all of this inside of the ticket. I'm not having to go anywhere else. Now, if we look at the ticket here, Andy called in and he requested that a file be restored from his backup. He doesn't think it is in OneDrive, so it's probably not something that he can go into OneDrive and restore or find in his recycle bin. He says that he was modifying the file in his downloads folder, which is typically not going to be captured by OneDrive. And he's specifically looking for a version from last night or the most recent version before this morning. Sounds like something may have happened here that is less than ideal this morning, and he's looking for a good version of that file. The file name right here is revised contract update, second update, final v2 final, final.pdf. So we're going to go ahead and copy that right there so that I know I have that file name on my clipboard. So now we need to actually go and look for this file inside of our backup. The easiest way to do this is just to click on Andy's laptop right here, and that'll take us to Andy's device. And then from right here, we can see our device, and we have the option to go ahead and manage. And this is all of the data that has been backed up into NinjaOne. Now, this is very easy to get set up. All you have to do after enabling Ninja Backup here in that apps exchange that I mentioned, just go ahead and turn that on up here in the top left. At that point, you would go into your organization, like I am for Bill's Maple Leaf Diner, and I would set up what devices should be deployed. I really like the all servers or all workstations option, so that as you have new devices that get onboarded into NinjaOne, you know that you're going to get that critical data. You can also throttle the bandwidth here so that each device is not going to use all of your bandwidth. So for example, during work hours here, they can only use 10 megabits a second. And then after that, I just go into my policies here. And inside of policies over on the left-hand side, you'll see the backup option. Now, for Windows devices, we're in a Windows policy. You get the ability to back up the full image of the disk. And that can go to the AWS cloud with storage that you license from NinjaOne. That can also go to local storage that you control. So if you have a NAS, like a Synology or a QNAP, I have a Synology here in my office, or if you have any sort of network share, any SMB share V2 or greater, you're going to be able to back that up locally. And then you have the third option of a hybrid backup, which is first going to back up to your local storage that you control, and then it's going to sync that backup to the cloud. And you get separate retention options here for this. Now, Pete mentioned the big rework of our backup engine. This is one of the really cool features that we introduced as a part of that rework, which is the ability to have separate retention for local versus cloud backups. Local storage is obviously much cheaper, so you might want to have a much longer tail here with what you want to keep compared to cloud storage, which can get pricey. And so if you want, you can go ahead and limit what you're keeping in the cloud, keeping a shorter tail, so that way you're keeping things less expensive overall. We also have the ability to do file and folder backups. This would be document backup, so specific file extensions or specific directories that you want to back up, much more targeted rather than doing the full disk image. But of course, with an image backup, in addition to getting the files and folders, you have the ability to do bare metal restore as well. So let's close out here. We've seen how all of this gets set up. We can go ahead and go back to Andy's laptop now. Right there. And so I'll go into Andy's laptop, I'll go to manage, and I'm actually going to go into my image backup, even though I only need one particular file here. I don't need to do a bare metal restore. I only need one particular file. But the really nice thing about image backup is that you can actually mount the image in the cloud so that you can retrieve a particular file or a particular folder from the image without having to fully download it and fully restore it just to get one measly little file. So I can go ahead and click into my C drive here. I need something from last night, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get the backup from last night here. We'll go ahead and mount that. And again, because this is stored in the cloud in some capacity, either cloud only or the hybrid backup we mentioned, it gives us this ability to go ahead and spin up the image in the cloud. So I can then go into my users folder here. I will then go ahead and find my particular user that I need to locate here. Right there. I think it's the Ninja user in this particular case. Andy mentioned it was in the downloads folder. And so right there, I have this particular file that I need. And so I can go ahead and check the box there, and I get two options. My first option would be to download this file to my own computer. I'm not a huge fan of this option simply because I don't want to be the middleman. I don't want to have to download it to my computer so that I can then go ahead and do a file transfer to the end destination or to email it to somebody. Obviously, I want to have the option in case that's an absolute must, but my personal preference would be to go ahead and restore this file directly to the user. And so that's the second option here. I can restore. I can say if the file already exists, go ahead and overwrite it. I can restore it to the same location. So Andy's laptop, it'll go right back to the exact same downloads folder that he had it stored in originally. However, I also love this option going to a different location. Now, this could be a different location on Andy's machine. So maybe I want to make it really apparent that it's available. So I'll put it on the desktop. So it's right there for it. Uh, However, what happens if Andy's laptop is broken? It's non-operational, and Andy's on the road. He's got a big presentation, a proposal that he needs, and how do we get it to him? If Andy's traveling with somebody like Kalen, I can go ahead and restore this file to Kalen's laptop, even though it comes originally from Andy's device. And so I'm able to go ahead and say, hey, on this particular device here, we're going to go ahead and put it in the Ninja desktop folder right there. We're going to restore. And so right there, immediately we're able to go ahead and very quickly get that file from NinjaOne to wherever it needs to go, whether that's Andy's laptop, whether that's Kalen's laptop, whether you need to email it to somebody, you've got plenty of options to make sure that they get the file that they need. And so once I've done that, I'll come back in here to my ticket. And so in this case, once I've actually transferred the file to the device, this should be resolved. And so I'll go ahead and I'll mark this as resolved. And then in my public response here for the ticket, I'll say, this file should be on your desktop. Please let me know if you can't find it. And so we'll go ahead and we'll publish there. Now you can see here, I clicked into this ticket last night. And so it says there's 19 hours of time that have been tracked. I can go ahead and come in here and make this something that's a little bit more reasonable. Let's say 10, well, not 10 hours. Let's go ahead and say 20 minutes. Now we're going to talk a little bit later about NinjaOne PSA. This is for managed service providers to ensure that they're able to bill their customers and their clients in an efficient way. And so this is where you would select what agreement are you using? How much time are you, how much are you charging for the time that you are selling to your client? What time entry product do you want to use? Is this billable or not billable? Is this going to be on-site or off-site in case you have different labor rates? This will allow you to go ahead and assign all of this so that everything gets billed properly. Right now in the 10.0 version that everyone on this call is currently on, you do have to use QuickBooks Online for this, but starting in the 11.0 release, you will get the ability to go ahead and not use QuickBooks. It'll just export to CSV if you don't use QuickBooks. So we are making strides to go ahead and make this more universal beyond just for the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. So right there, I've resolved this ticket. I've fixed my little time mishap here, or now I'm fixing my time mishap. We'll go ahead and apply that. You can see now this is a total of 29 minutes between the initial receiving of the ticket and then the subsequent follow-up to actually restore it. So we've resolved that ticket. Let's go back in here and look at our second ticket. And this is the other side of it. We talked about the endpoint. For a long time, that was what backup was focused on, was on the endpoint. That's where all the data was. And that's not the case anymore. Now we all use a variety of SaaS services, and we've got a ton of data in those services that if we ever lost it, it would be very damaging. I can say from firsthand experience, not that I've ever had this happen, but if I were to lose everything that was in my OneDrive, for example, I would be in a very, very bad way. And so what we're going to do here is show how you can use the SaaS backup functionality of NinjaOne to protect all sides of your environment. We talked about the endpoint side. We've got that covered, but there's all this data in the cloud. We need to have access to that as well. And so in this particular case, we've got Adele Vance. She has called in from Steve Snowboards, and she is looking for a specific version of a file. It's named Employee Engagement Plan. She says this was backed up on OneDrive, but her cat accidentally deleted the file while walking across the keyboard. I've heard more outlandish excuses. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to actually find this file. We're going to go to the top left here, and this brings us into the main dashboard where we can see our backup overview. Now for endpoint backup, we've got this dashboard that shows you everything that's currently being backed up, workstations, servers, where there's been any failures, but there is also our SaaS backup right here. And so if we go in here, we'll see all of our various organizations. We'll see if they are being backed up. And you can see that not everybody is. We've got 2 clients in here who aren't taking advantage of the SaaS backup. But we can see we have 4 clients who very are going to who are using SaaS backup in a variety of ways. There are multitude of methods for you to be able to back up your SaaS products. This applies to both Microsoft 365 as well as Google Workspace. Those are going to be the 2 main providers that NinjaOne SaaS Backup allows you to keep safe. And so you can see here we've got a multitude of plan types. We've got our standard SaaS backup, and this is going to cover our email inboxes. It's going to cover our public Teams chats. It's going to cover our OneDrive. It's going to cover the SharePoint and the SharePoint sites. And then we also have the archiver option right here. And what this is going to do is give you journaled backups. So you will get something more in real time as opposed to having everything backed up every 2 hours. You also get more advanced e-compliance capabilities for things like legal holds, better reporting. And then with Archiver, you also get the ability to back up private Teams chats as well. So you've got SaaS backup for most things, and then if you have to really get very granular with your backups in the SaaS portal, you have the Archiver to get even more advanced and even more targeted with what you're looking for. So what we need to do now is actually find the file we need and go ahead and get it to Adele. And so what we're going to do is go to our actions and we're going to manage our services, or actually let's go ahead and restore some services. So we'll go ahead and restore right here. Now, because I've set up this integration, I've already linked my organizations. I've already set up SaaS backup to point to my Microsoft 365 tenant. And so I jump right in here and you can see that I can see all my users. So there's Adele right at the very top. Smart to pick somebody whose name started with A. And you can see that this is currently the email inbox, but I've got other options here for the OneDrive, for the calendar, for tasks, for private chats, because we are using the Archiver SKU for this organization. We've got our SharePoint sites here as well. Now I need something from Adele, so I'll click on Adele right here. I can see her email inbox. I would have the option to restore her entire email inbox if I needed, or I could go ahead and cherry pick just 1 or 2 emails, and then I'd have the option to migrate, restore, or just download it to my computer. However, I don't need an email today. I need OneDrive. I need a file from OneDrive. And the nice thing about it is that I can go ahead and type in the name of a file like so. Whoops. Search for it. If I didn't add that extra period at the end there, we'll go ahead and search. I can go ahead and look by date. So if I need to look for where I want to see the most recent here, I would actually click again. So it's in descending order like this. And so I can see my most recent files here from a couple of days ago, but there's several different versions. They said they wanted the most recent one. I might cover my bases here by selecting multiple versions of this file. Now I have the option again to go ahead and restore this to Adele's inbox. In this particular case, I might want to go ahead and download the latest version. And so this is going to go ahead and download everything. And it's going to give me a zip file that has everything inside of it. I have actually already done that part. So we're going to go back into our ticket here, go into Adele's ticket that she's requested. And so here I'm actually just going to go ahead and add this. And so right there, you see attaching the files that Adele needs. I probably in real life, if this was an actual scenario, I would probably go ahead and just restore this directly to her OneDrive, maybe put it in a different folder or something like that. But just to show you something a little different here than a direct restore, you do have the option to go ahead and just send this directly to the end user. And so I can go ahead and then publish this like so. I'll go ahead and mark this as resolved, and we'll go ahead and take care of that ticket. This time I didn't have the timing issue, so I don't need to go ahead and add on additional time because that's already taken care of right here. Now, So far, we've talked about the endpoint backup. We've talked about the SaaS backup. We call that unified backup. You've got the comprehensive coverage across the board to ensure that no data is going to go missing, that you're not going to lose anything. Obviously, if you lose all the data in your SaaS tenant, that could very well spell the end of an organization. Just without that data, you might not have much of a business left. So very important to have that covered. I did want to briefly talk about a feature that we often get asked about with regards to backup. I think because it seems like a feature that is backup related, but it's more backup adjacent. And this is operating system deployment. So obviously, you may have a need to re-image devices, re-image servers, re-image workstations, get them operational again. And so you wouldn't want to use the main NinjaOne backup product for that. You'd want to use NinjaOne operating system deployment. This is an early access feature, so if you don't see it, please reach out to your account manager so they can turn it on. This is available, I believe, in the 10.0 release of NinjaOne, and then in the 11.0 release of NinjaOne, you will get this will be fully GA. This will be something anybody can use. Right now, it's an early access, so you will have to request this from your account manager. Now, once you download this, you're able to capture the image of a VM, for example, and then you can go ahead and deploy a provisioning package, deploy the NinjaOne agent, and that way you're able to go from one to many, deploy to all your devices, and ensure that they are standardized the way you would expect based off of the image that you have customized and then captured. I have used this. This works wonderfully. If you have a need for any sort of operating system deployment tool, would highly recommend reaching out to your account manager to give this a try. So let's go ahead and shift gears here for our next ticket. Come back in here. And here we can see that the end user is new and does not have the required password manager app on their phone. Now, this is a MacBook. We can see right here, and this is from Jordi LaForge. Maybe he just can't see it. So what we're going to do here is run an automation. Just real simple. Let's go ahead and get this application deployed for. So in this particular case, I know that they're going to be using 1Password. And so I'll go ahead and find my install 1Password script right here, and I can go ahead and run that. And so right there, right from the ticket, I have not gone anywhere else. I'm able to completely take care of this particular issue. However, there might be a better way to handle this long term. And that would be to actually use the self-service capacity that NinjaOne has through the sys tray to actually have them install the application on their own. So even though I just installed it, I can go into my sys tray right here. We'll go into the Maple Leaf Diner right here. And then in my sys tray menu, you can see that I've created a variety of options here, including a self-service option. And this is for installing applications. And so we can install Chrome, install Slack, empty the recycle bin, and you can also install 1Password. And so this is a good teaching moment here. It's a good opportunity to say, hey, even though I've already taken care of the issue for you, in the future, make sure you check out the sys tray so that you can see that you have this application available, and this would be an opportunity in the future to cut down and reduce the ticket. So that's great. Let's talk about how we can make this a little bit easier within the ticketing system. We've taken care of the issue, but we want the end user to know that there's a better process here. And one thing that I love about the ticketing system is the ability to create response templates. You'll see these in the top right. These are like macros. They're one-click macros that will fill out various aspects of the ticket so that you don't have to. So from a practitioner level, I like that because I don't want to have to type the same thing over and over again. Um, from a sort of managerial level, I like it because it helps standardize responses. I no longer have people who are in the Wild West and they're going to say or do whatever. I have a little bit more control over what they're going to say and how that interaction is going to look with a customer. So in this particular case here, I've got my password manager request for Mac OS. Let's go ahead and click that. And you can see right here, this automatically filled out with a pre-composed comment into the public response bar right here. You can see it used Jordy's name because I inserted a placeholder that automatically referred to the first name of the requester. So I didn't have to really do anything here. I had to go and run the automation to install the application, and then I go to my response template and I select the response template. And what that has done is give this pre-filled out email letting them know that there's a self-service option available in the future and that we're going to go ahead and close the ticket because we've installed this for you, but let us know if it doesn't appear within the hour so that we can take care of this. And so this has also marked this ticket as resolved as well. So I can go ahead and publish this. And to me, that speaks to the efficiency and the streamlining that you can get by having your ticketing platform tied into your endpoint management platform as tightly as possible. Didn't have to really leave this ticket in any way, didn't really have to do much of anything. I really just had to do a few clicks, and I was able to take care of this in a minimal amount of time. Now, one thing I want to emphasize about this is we could actually get rid of the self-service component entirely by having this just be done out of the box. And so with macOS MDM, we can go ahead and set things up so that as we purchase macOS devices, they get automatically enrolled in NinjaOne. Here you can see I've set up my ADE token right here. Looks like I might have to accept some terms and services right here in order to get this to turn back into a healthy status. And so as I purchased devices from Apple, regardless of whether they're macOS devices or iOS devices, as we'll talk about in just a minute, this is giving you that capacity to have devices automatically funneled uh, at the point of purchase into NinjaOne, where they then automatically get a policy. And so I can go ahead and go into my policies right here. I'll go into a macOS policy down here. From this menu, you can see I have all my agent-based options, and so I get the real-time monitoring and alerting with my conditions. I get all the custom automations I can push out to my devices. For example, like 1Password, this is a custom shell script that I'm pushing. And this is capability that you don't normally get with a regular MDM. With a regular MDM, you're getting the options down here at the very bottom. And this is to set your passcode settings, to set the restrictions on device functionality right here. You can push applications, but these applications would typically have to come from a public app, or not a public app, an apps and books token or a VPP token from your Apple Business Manager account. We can also configure our patching settings here. As Pete mentioned, that is kind of a hard line that Apple has been drawing in the sand here for a little while now. They really, really, really want you to do all the patching through your operating system updates. And so we get all this configuration capability through MDM, the things that Apple has really restricted to only be possible through an MDM. But at the same time, we also get the agent-based method to where we're able to do real-time alerting and response. We're able to run automations, retrieve data from those automations, and store that data server-side for better reporting and better automations. You can deploy your integrated antivirus, whether that's Bitdefender Gravity Zone, SentinelOne, or CrowdStrike. And you can also do software patching, 40 common software applications that NinjaOne offers on macOS to ensure that you are patching those vulnerabilities and everything is staying up to date. Now we can also do this with with iOS and with Android as well. And so you can see in the same portal where I have Windows servers, Linux servers, laptops, workstations, MacBooks, I then also have all of my Android and iOS devices as well. And so I can see that I have this Pixel 7 that's enrolled. I have the ability here to lock the device, to reset the passcode. I can go ahead and track the location of the device if I needed to. This is at our office in Tampa. Let's go ahead and look at our ticket here. We found our password manager app. Here we have our next ticket. Looks like the Batphone VPN is not working. The end user says they cannot connect to a remote location from their phone. It looks like they're missing maybe the VPN app or there's some sort of misconfiguration. So again, what is our solution here? Let's go into administration. I think the solution is we should make it so that as the device joins this platform, that it's automatically receiving the VPN app that is needed, and therefore it's also being configured in a way to where it's going to work for them. And so if we go into our policies here, I will go down to MDM policies. And so in here, I could go ahead and go into my iPhone 11 policy. And from here, I would have the ability to go ahead and make sure that applications are being pushed out. And so in this case, let's go ahead and find our VPN app. Again, this is searching from the public app store right here. There's NordVPN. So let's go ahead and install that app right there. Let's force that to be installed. And so now we're taking this out of the equation. There's no self-service here. We're making it so that as this iPhone joins the NinjaOne platform, it receives this policy, and then it automatically has that application deployed. To take this a step further, you can then have configurations deployed with the application to enforce certain attributes. For example, if I wanted to make sure that the person was signing in with the work email, I would be able to go ahead and add a variable into the custom payload that I would have assigned here that would enforce that email address or that domain as being one that has to be signed into for this application. You wouldn't be able to use it if you didn't sign in with that particular domain or with that particular email address. And so any sort of application, whatever they support in terms of the managed application configurations, this gives you a really granular ability to make sure that things are exactly and precisely the way that you want them to be. Now, this is great. We've set things up. We can ensure that Bruce Wayne is going to have his bat phone working in a safe manner here. We'll go ahead and save that. We'll go back into our ticket and we'll go ahead and we will mark this as resolved. And we'll go to our final ticket here. We've got a question from Emmett Brown here. He says the end user is reporting that the computer that allows the staff to manage the lighting and the temperature for the building is not operational. Now, looking into this, it doesn't seem that this is a standard managed device covered under their contract. So I had to go and talk with my supervisor, Pete, and Pete said, hey, let's go ahead and do this to where we're going to go ahead and have them. We're going to help them ad hoc. Even though this isn't under contract, we're going to go ahead and still help them out here. Now, the method that we are going to use to do this is Quick Connect. Because this is not a managed device, I can't do what I would typically do here, which is go into my macOS device like this, click NinjaOne Remote, and I would be into the device. I don't have the option to do that here. You can see it works just fine with macOS, but I can't do that because this is not a managed device. However, we have Quick Connect, which is explicitly designed to help you access those unmanaged devices. So right here, I can see I have this one set up. All I need to do here is create an invitation. The invitation would look something like this with an invitation URL. Once you go to that URL, the user gets an option to download a utility. It's not an MSI, so they don't need to be an admin to install it. You'll be able to access the remote access session within the current user's context, whatever they're operating within. Now, once I do that, I can then go ahead, direct the end user to install that, and then we'll go ahead and connect. I'm going to connect within the user's context, but if you have a local admin or Azure AD, or excuse me, Entra admin credentials, you can use that to elevate the session so you are not subject to any restrictions on the current user's functionality. So we'll go ahead and connect this right here. It's funny because I can see this working in my VM on the other screen. So I know it's working. Hey, there we go. Just took a little bit. I've been having some internet problems yesterday, so maybe that's just some lingering impact from that. But now I'm in the session. I'm able to go ahead and take care of everything I need to do right here in the session. However, this wasn't an operational device. So how would I be able to connect to it if the end user is not able to get that device operational? In my experience, I have often found that end users don't always know how things are supposed to work or what to do or what buttons to press. And so in that case, I might need to actually have them show me what is going on here. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a quick connect to the phone of the end user. In reality, this is just my phone in my office. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to enter the code here. See the code here. I will have to disable this after we end this webinar so nobody tries to join our environment. And if you want, have fun.
Hey, Jeff, I'm just giving you a 5-minute warning so we can answer questions.
Thank you very much. Wrap up here in just a bit. So once we've done that, you can see the iPhone and now online. Let's go ahead and connect right here. and start the broadcast. Now, right here, what I would do in this scenario, and this is something I've done in the past, is I would have the end user turn on their camera. I'm not going to do that now because my office is really messy. But if I did turn on my camera here, I'd be able to see the same physical space that they were able to see. And when you're doing that, you're able to show them things like a power button, which they might not know is a thing that exists. I have had to deal with this in the past where somebody said, "Hey, this server is offline. What do I do?" And I said, "You turn it on." They said, "Where's the button?" I said, "It's the big silver button on the front." And they couldn't do it. And so I had to do FaceTime here so that they were able to, I could say, "Hey, see that right there? Point your finger, move around a little bit." I hope that nobody has to go through that, but I like to be prepared for all eventualities. And I think in this particular case, just the ability to see what the end user sees and give them a little bit of direction. People tend to be visual. I know I am. That can be very, very beneficial. Now, one thing that I want to cover here is what happens if this ticket is in relation to a device that is unmanaged. I don't have a way to store that historical information tied to a particular device. Now, what I have done to get around that is I've created an unmanaged device. So let's go ahead, find in here my unmanaged device. This is not something that actually has the agent installed on it. And what I did here is I changed change tabs here real quick. What I've done here is I've gone to administration, I've gone to devices, I've gone to roles. You will see that there is a whole new section down here for unmanaged devices. I've created an unmanaged device called an unmanaged computer. And then all I did was go up to the very top right here, created an unmanaged device. If I had a lot of them, I'd import from a CSV for sure. But in this case, I'm going to create one from scratch. I want to create an unmanaged device. I'd add in the name, any relevant details here. And so that's how I ended up with a ticket that I can then link to this device here. I'll go ahead and mark this as resolved and we'll save this. And when I go to this unmanaged device here, you're going to see that I have that ticket associated with it. And so in the future, if this becomes a managed device, I've got this historical aspect of the information, the historical data available. So I'm not just starting with a net new device. I'm going to be able to have this information long term, whether this device is unmanaged or whether this device is managed. Now, I know we want to get to questions. I want to show just one quick thing here, is if we go into a different tab, what I've done is kind of expanded the concept of unmanaged devices to have everything created via the API. And so what I've done here is, NinjaOne does not yet support active Chromebook management. But one thing that I can do is use the API to retrieve information from Google about Chromebooks. And you can see I've done this right here. And so all of this information all comes from Google. None of this is NinjaOne information. All you're doing is using NinjaOne as the repository here. So that I'm able to take all this information from Google's API about warranty expiration, support expiration. All that information is available and accessible for the same reporting framework that every other device is. So when I want to report on warranties, now I include my Chromebooks in addition to what Ninja is already going to natively report on for Dell, Toshiba, Lenovo, HP, and Microsoft Windows devices. And so just an example here of how the unmanaged devices can really get extended to make NinjaOne this portal where you see absolutely everything. And when you see everything, in my experience, that means that fewer things get missed. Uh, with that, I think we should probably go ahead and take some questions, Pete.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to start with an overarching question because I see it a lot. There are a lot of questions about how things are licensed and are things free, are things included with certain packages. The long and short answer is almost every single person on this call probably has a different license structure and packaging structure. Reach out to your account manager and they can tell you if something isn't or is not included in your existing subscription, and if not, what the pricing is on that item. A few I will call out. Quick Connect is generally a paid add-on to our remote access solution. Unmanaged devices are licensed differently than RMM. You do not pay the same price for your RMM license as your unmanaged device. That would be wildly unfair. MDM is licensed separately from RMM. They consume different licenses than the RMM license. So most of the new products, not new capabilities, but new products that we are rolling out do need to be licensed separately, and you should reach out to your account manager. You can always trial things, try them out, before you're spun up for a subscription, but reach out to your account manager. They can turn them on for you. They can walk you through them. They can give you deep dive demos, etc. So, a couple questions here. Vulnerability scanner imports. Is there a guide to pull in vulnerabilities from something like Microsoft Defender? Jeff, did you build anything like that?
So I'm in progress on something for a different service right now. It's for Tenable. That was the one that I've heard the most about. But any service will work for the vulnerability scanner import. The difficulty becomes in formatting the data so that it will be accepted by NinjaOne. And so if we come into our apps exchange here, you'll see that we do have the vulnerability importer. What I would recommend is take your CS or use the API of Microsoft Defender to generate an export in a CSV format of your vulnerabilities. You do need to have each CVE on its own unique line, and you also need to have some sort of matching factor in NinjaOne and in Defender. In this particular case, you can see we're using the IP address. Same IP address, same device. That's how we then map the appropriate vulnerabilities to the machine in NinjaOne. Now, to automate this, we do have a script that does the uh, importing of the vulnerabilities. And so right here, I'll drop this link into the chat, or actually, I'll drop this link into the chat right here. And then you'll see that the vulnerability importer sample script is right here. And so this is a perfect example of how to actually import data into NinjaOne. However, what this does not cover is the export from your service. And that's because every single service is going to have its own set of APIs, and you're going to have a unique way to retrieve the information from all of them. So I don't have anything right now for Defender. I am working on something for Tenable. I'm hoping to have this done uh, uh, by the end of this week, I think. I've got something that I is working. Just need to kind of validate it with a few beta testers, and then I'll have that out and available. But yeah, ultimately, I would recommend looking at the Microsoft APIs for Defender, seeing how they export everything, and then you're going to have to work on getting it formatted so that NinjaOne will accept it in an appropriate way. And again, it's just really difficult to generate the documentation for each of those services because they are all going to be different and they're all going to have their own unique methods to retrieve via API so that you can then do the automation. We've tried to make it as generic as possible, but yeah, the export from whatever your tool happens to be, you will need to come up with your own script to be able to do that export on a recurring basis. I do, again, hope to have an example for Tenable here very shortly. So yeah, that's the current state of play.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, next question from Brian here. Will we have access to NinjaOne PSA? You can go to the app tile, the app section of administration, and you should see a NinjaOne PSA app tile there. If not, reach out to your account manager and they can make it available to you. Again, this is a licensed product, depending on your subscription. Next one is OS deployment available today. It is included in basically every subscription, so it is free. And it is in early access, but it's going generally available in our next release. So it should be available to you today. And again, you can go to administration and then downloads. Is that correct, Jeff?
It's administration, library, and then downloads. And you
Perfect.
should see this at the very bottom right there.
Awesome. All right. On backups, if we store a backup locally on a NAS, can we mount and pull specific files, folders like what was demonstrated in the cloud?
So you can only do that if you have a cloud component. So that would be for a straight cloud backup, or if you're doing a hybrid backup where you're going to upsync to the cloud. But you do have to have a cloud component in order for that to be able to work.
Awesome. Let's see. Uh, there are a lot of very small, specific questions. How do we get Quick Connect added? That one's easy, Victor. Reach out to your account manager and they can make it available to you. It also turns on under Ninja Remote. Yep. Thank you, Jeff. Um, there's a question here about Apple MDM. Can uh, there's Apple Business Manager style enrollment, and then there's like individual device enrollment. Can you briefly touch on those two options and why both exist?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have the option of going to the plus sign in the top right, adding a device. We're going to add a Mac, and you can go ahead and you can add the DMG or the PKG. That is going to be agent only. You only get the NinjaOne agent. You wouldn't get anything with MDM. But you can also enroll manually with an MDM enrollment profile. And if you do this locally on the device, for a device that is not enrolled in Apple Business Manager or not otherwise enrolled in an MDM, this does give you the ability to go ahead and have that device appear in the portal. And it actually will look just like this. This is exactly what I did with this virtual machine. You can't actually enroll a virtual machine through Apple Business Manager because there's no hardware. So the only way to actually enroll an Apple virtual machine is to go ahead and connect to it via the agent or be physically present at the hypervisor, and then go ahead and actually uh, uh, do that MDM enrollment profile locally. Now, that doesn't sound great for anything aside from testing, right? Fine for ones and twos, but you wouldn't want to do that at scale because things are going to get missed. And so that's where the Apple Business Manager connection comes in and the automated device enrollment comes in. If you are purchasing new MacBooks, you can make it so that they are automatically linked to your Apple Business Manager account, automatically assigned to an MDM server, and therefore, as they are turned on for the first time, they have to complete the MDM enrollment. And as that user signs in and sets everything up, you're going to see that device automatically flow into NinjaOne, and then it's going to receive the policy, and then it's going to get all its necessary applications. It's going to be configured properly. Uh, and ultimately, by having it flow through Apple Business Manager, you get ownership of the device in a way that you probably wouldn't otherwise get through Apple Business Manager. So we have both because we want to be flexible. We want to have, we want to make this as easy as possible. That being said, I think for the vast majority of people, the way that you want to go is you want to have devices provisioned, you want to have them enrolled in Apple Business Manager, and you want to have them flow through the automated device enrollment workflow into NinjaOne. That gives you more control over the device. It gives you more capabilities in terms of what you can impact in terms of settings on the device. And it also gives you that ownership of the device long term. I do want to mention here, because we probably have some managed service providers who are watching. If you for your clients need to have their devices in their own ABM tenant. You are not able to, per the terms and conditions of Apple, they don't want you to spin up an MSP tenant and have your client's devices enrolled in that. And NinjaOne does allow you to integrate your customers' tenants, multiple tenants into NinjaOne very easily, so that you can handle everybody under one roof. But definitely something I would want to point out to everybody.
Awesome. Jeff, I think we got time for one more question. A bit of a pivot here. Can you create custom private board? This is an MSP question. Custom private boards that can be assigned to individual customers so that an MSP's IT team, MSP's customers IT team can use Ninja ticketing via the MSP.
Yeah, that is a great question, and you can absolutely do that. You can see that we've got a variety of role-based access control set up here. And so, for example, if I wanted to do something with co-managed IT, like I am with Bill's Maple Leaf Diner here, I can go ahead and go and limit this to a particular organization. So right here, I'll say, hey, Bill, view and update this organization. Maybe I don't want to let them update. Maybe I'll only let them view. Maybe I'll only give them access to certain devices within that organization. And then within ticketing, I'll say, hey, you can't do any administrative actions. You can view, update, and create tickets, but you can't delete them. And then down here, you're only going to have access to the board I create that explicitly shows you only your organization's tickets, as opposed to seeing everybody else's. And so you can absolutely make it so that you can limit and water down what is in NinjaOne so it's not visible to anybody in a co-managed IT scenario. I think this also applies if you're just on an internal IT team, but you have somebody who needs access to the system just to approve like a certain ticket once a month. This is a great way to also give them that similar access, and not have to expose a bunch of things to somebody who is a layperson in terms of IT.
Awesome. We are at time, but there is one question. Some people saw some things that they shouldn't. There was a link for Ninja Desktop in the downloads page. So I'm just going to cover that briefly. Ninja Desktop was a thick agent for our remote access solution. That capability has been deprecated. It is not available today. But for those who saw it, it was a thick agent to kick off remote access from your desktop. It's no longer available in the product. Jeff happens to have it because he has access to everything. So with that little bit of ninja lore, we can wrap up. We do have an MDM webinar coming up in November. For those of you who are asking for more MDM training, final sort of call to action here is if you saw anything that was interesting to you, please reach out to your account manager, set up time for like a customized demo via one of our sales engineers, or even just an opportunity to turn on a trial and try them out. We encourage you to try everything in Ninja and see what really meets your needs and solves some problems for you. But thank you so much for your time, Jeff. Thank you so much for this great walkthrough, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.